you for joining us. This is just breaking as we went live here. We'll cover it towards the end of the news tonight. Ron Paul has tied for first place in Iowa. The same numbers are coming in many other states across the country. The system is in panic mode. He's tied with the globalist, Newt Gingrich, and as people learn more about Gingrich, Gingrich is going to fall like a shooting star. We are witnessing history right now. More on that coming up. I also interviewed Ron Paul today on the radio. We'll be breaking down the incredible news nuggets that came out of that, including Ron Paul talking about the fact that Fast and Furious was a Justice Department criminal operation, in his words, to frame the Second Amendment and is a false flag attack against our country. That is coming up towards the end of the news segment. Before we air the second part of the interview, it's 45 minutes long. The second part is with Ben Fuchs, pharmacist Ben Fuchs, on the fact that it is basic science and molecular biology of how to be healthy and lose weight versus what the establishment medical system is selling. That extended part two of the interview they did live last night will air this evening, premiering here, so stay with us. We've also got some highlights of my radio / internet TV interview with Ron Paul today, so that's coming up after the news. Okay, let's look at drones. I remember 16 years ago first being on the radio and learning about covert drone tests around the country and reading Rand Corporation and Pentagon prospectus plans on the fact that, hey, militaries never like to engage in guerrilla war because there's high casualties when you're dragging people's families off to re-education camps. But if we can get ground robots, air-based robots that are autonomous from humans, we can basically do whatever we want, even if the military says no. But in the interim, in that in-between step from having a fully human-operated military to the robot pre-programmed autonomous system, there's a middle ground, a transition phase. And the globalists, and we've written about this and posted it at Infowars.com many times, and had Futurist on breaking it down, and MIT Magazine admits this as well, they went into a phase of having human operators for different drones drop bombs on people, blow up whole wedding parties in the Middle East or Africa or other areas to kill one, quote, terrorist. No judge, no jury, no nothing. Now we're told, hey, U.S. citizens, Obama has said, are being killed by drones. No judge, no jury, no wanted dead or alive even. Just, we're going to kill them. And now they're telling us they're going to operate and are operating domestically. And we're going to have TSA checkpoints and the Rural Affairs Commission run by the Pentagon and Homeland Security searching citizens. And so this has been going on for a long time. Now it's admitted. Drones officially take flight for domestic law enforcement. And the new ruling class, the paramilitary police and the military-industrial complex owned by offshore Goldman Sachs, they are openly saying that they're going to use these lethal systems against us, and they're now rolling it out publicly. And here's an article I have out of the Daily Mail. It first broke yesterday in the LA Times. Meet the North Dakota family of anti-government separatists, that's because they wanted to live alone, busted by cops using a Predator drone after stealing 6 cows. Now, the cows kept breaking into their property, and under common law and under U.S. law, we happen to have a ranch in East Texas, if all of this is going on, you get to keep the animals. In fact, once my grandpa got mad that his cows kept breaking into the neighbor's 3 times, and the neighbor kept a bunch of his cows. That's actually happened to me. Of course, a Predator drone didn't go after the neighbor next door. It wasn't very neighborly, but it was his right to do it. But in today's parlance, when the family said, you're not coming on our property to get the cows without a warrant, they sent in the Air Force / CIA Predator drone in the middle of the United States in North Dakota to do this, and targeted the enemy family, and the SWAT team went in. And I was on RT, national, international television today, and they were asking me, in fact, I'll show folks a document cam shot of this article, and I'll show you the family here. They were asking, well, why is this happening now? Under the Rural Affairs Council run by the Pentagon, under all of these systems, and I'm showing you again the wicked family that the media is demonizing, none of it is Al-Qaeda, the same folks our government has turned Libya over to, or they used against the Russians or the Serbs or now the Syrians, or the Iranians, for that matter. Al-Qaeda attacks all of them for the West in Saudi Arabia, who they work for. It's always about gun owners, rural people, people that are self-sufficient. You are the big enemy. You are the people that have to be targeted by police working with the military and the threat fusion centers, because when they implode the economy and take all the bank accounts, you're not going to want to leave your farmland that you own. And they're going to send in the police to kill you. And here's the big secret to all of this. Before they can X you out, before they can slit your throat, before they can hand it all over to Goldman Sachs as collateral for their next Ponzi scheme, before they can kill mama, they've got to brainwash the public that you're a terrorist. They've got to sell the police it's okay to have the military involved. And I've got the manuals. We published them. MIAC, Homeland Security, the list goes on and on. Are you a homeschooler? Do you have your own farm? Do you own guns? They're training the cops that you're a terrorist. And I've got more news on that coming up in a moment. People are like, this can't be happening. Did it happen in Russia? Did it happen in Cuba? Did it happen in Nazi Germany? Did it happen in China? You got to start understanding that today in Mexico, if you try to protest, they shoot you. That comes out all the time in the news. This is how the rest of the world operates. And we think, oh, well, we're going to be okay here. No, we're not. Just because we own guns, the corrupt government, bought and paid for by the foreign banks, is amassing all this force against us. Weldon Henson works in my office. He got out of the Air Force 5 years ago when I hired him. He's a local country music singer as well, successful. But all of his buddies who were in the Air Force servicing F-16s, they're all being given jobs or offered jobs controlling drones. And now they're pilots. And they sit in trailers bombing people around the clock around the world. And this is about government not being scared to wage war against an armed population. And the entire posture and the admission by the Pentagon is they work, even one of the Army War College guys a few years ago talked about this, their enemy is the American people. And they work, quote, for Wall Street. That means the big mega banks that are getting all the government bailouts. It's a corporate takeover. You don't think Corzine would steal all those private bank accounts and be the top White House advisor to Obama without being told he's allowed to do this? They're setting the precedent. And make no mistake, hardcore tyranny has come here. In fact, pull up National Geographic before I get into more drone articles. National Geographic, I forgot to bring the hard copy up here, but there's the online article. It shows the new combat robots. I was told a decade ago by people inside the Marine Corps and MIT that they had stuff that was like out of movies. Not little wheeled robots with machine guns and grenade launchers like you see in Iraq, the swords and stuff. That's 30 years old. Quite frankly, my grandfather was an inventor and developed a crowd control robot in the 1960s. They sold the prototype to and got their money back on that shot electrical cables out to taser people and had extendable arms that shocked people. And the government's always been obsessed with this. He sold the prototype, I think, was like 68 or so. So I've been close to this before anybody even knew about it. I was told about this when I was a kid and shown some of the documents. But expanding on this, my grandfather was like a tinker. He would go out and discover uranium and stuff with a weird scintillator machine he had. The point is that that's why last week when we showed The Treasure of Sierra Madres, that was his favorite movie. John Bound showed a clip of it. I'm like, wow, my grandpa used to love to watch that. Whenever it was on TV, he'd say, come over and watch it. It's in the TV guide. But side issue, going back to this, the whole thing is about getting humans out of the equations, having robots that work on the robots. And if you go back to that article, in the physical copy, they showed these big combat robots. They've got tanks, 18-wheelers that pull up in front of your house, a bunch of smaller legged or wheeled vehicles pull up. They come up to your house, they kill you. And zit-faced, pizza pocket-eating Ritalin heads sit back at their house slaughtering you, thinking that it's a video game. They've got all these new clocks coming out that have smells that bugs like, and the bugs go in and get killed, and you laugh at the flesh-eating robots. The Pentagon's coming out with flesh-eating ground robots that go out and kill humans and then feed themselves off human flesh. This is really happening. And so I want to warn everybody that this is going on. Fox News first, again, reported on the Eater. And so it is a Terminator Skynet situation. By the way, that movie is all based on what the Pentagon plans. It's just the machines aren't going to be working for machines. They work for humans. They're eugenicists. I want to get rid of the population. In the 70s, before the Skynet space-based Star Wars system was announced as a strategic defense initiative, back before it was declassified, it was called Skynet. And they called the cashless society system the control grid. Truth is stranger than fiction. Now, every time I'm on national TV or radio, I mention, hey, they've already got, at 150,000 feet or higher, super high altitude blimps that are robotically controlled from the ground. They have ground penetrating radar on them. They've got microwave systems that can actually cook you in your house. You die 6 months later, what you think is cancer or leukemia, or a blood-based cancer like leukemia. This was all set up by Alexander Haig in the 90s. He owned the big company the government contracted for this. I mean, I remember back in 2005 articles about the blimps being launched. And now ABC News, whenever people get a telescope out and show it, go, is that a flying saucer over Salt Lake or Dallas? Even when the news shows a blimp with propellers that's solar powered. I mean, it's a blimp. I have the answers. I called ABC News up, and I called the Dallas stations up, and I said, that's a blimp. You can see propellers. They said, no, we're saying it's an alien. And I showed the newscast where they said it must be an alien. Because the public isn't allowed to see a giant blimp surveilling them with microwave cannons on the bottom. They just tell you it's a space alien, even though it's a Hindenburg with propellers on it. Again, they're the conspiracy theorists. They feed you on superstition and tripe, like the UN last week saying give them control over all energy or Mother Earth will die and the rights of the Gaia spirit. Whether you believe that or not, they don't. It's pure quackery. Yeah, there it is. ABC News, desperate to ignore Homeland Security blimp claims, UFO over Salt Lake City. Yeah, Daily Paul, I guess, reported on that a few years ago. But yeah, and I guess they were kind of picking up on our article because we were the ones that pointed that out. But that's what it is. That's what it is. I mean, it's a blimp with propellers. It's like showing a locomotive and saying, kids, it's a space alien or it's a dragon. The government's like, locomotives don't exist. It's a fire-breathing dragon who's friends with Keebler elves and Easter bunnies. This is what they do. But here's MSNBC. Eyes in the sky for Homeland Security, and it is the giant drone. So they're going after everybody. They're going after folks who, finally the fourth time, keep cows that go on their property. I remember I'd warn you about they're going to use drones and armored. I saw an article years ago in Hawaii where the police are testing giant vehicle-sized mini tanks with weapons all over them. And the cowards sit back. You won't leave your ranch because it belongs to Goldman Sachs now under some New World Order program. They're threatening robots in Greece. They're just going to march robots out for that you paid for to slaughter your ass. I mean, I'm sorry. That's what this is. Yeah, there's one of their little killer robots. Biomass-eating military robot is a vegetarian company says. After they first put out a press release about flesh-eating ones, they came out with this. Isn't that sweet? It's not going to eat your corpse. There will be a corpse, though. Okay, let's continue here. Here's the unmanned aerial vehicle and the National Aerospace System. See, when my grandpa had to fly over Europe flying a Liberator and a B-17, he flew both, he had to actually go and fight humans. But see, now they just sit back cowardly and have them march out against you. And they don't care if the military says no to killing Americans because it all works for Skynet now. And everything's got back doors built into it, Trojan horses, your cell phone, your appliances are all coming out to track you. It's all admitted. But because everybody knows that's Big Brother, they first say, oh, that's not true. Oh, that's not happening. Now it's admitted. Oh, we're never going to use the drones, $5 million Predators, $13, $14 million Sentinels. We're never going to use them against you. I remember 8-9 years ago, the Homeland Security was first set up tracking farmers in Colorado. Were they building a new barn on their property without paying the local environmental tax? It's the same thing in Australia. The government thinks it owns us. It thinks it's right. It's like Texas last week bought 6 new $600,000 boats apiece to go out and wage war against us with cannons and machine guns on it while they tell us they want our guns and leave all the real criminals alone. We have a money laundering criminal government, and until you admit that, we have no hope. I mean, the Justice Department's been caught shipping drugs into the country, guns into Mexico. There it is, drone.